Welcome to our special edition and time for Play to Win, the fastest 30 minutes in football. For those of you who haven't seen our show today, we are going to talk about college football, pro football, injury reports, fantasy football, and of course talk about the college football playoffs and the NFL headed to the playoffs. A lot on the show. Let's get started. Play to Win is being brought to you by John Foy and Associates and Kia Mall of Georgia and Mall of Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep.
Welcome to Play to Win with former Falcons All-Pro defensive end Chuck Smith, Fantasy Football League previews with Adam Brown, game analysis with Nikki Williams, Play to Win expert Jeffrey the Ed Schechter, medical and injury update with Dr. Andrew Lalage, and your host, Atlanta sports veteran Bob Neal. Our college football report is being brought to you by Mall of Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Kia Mall of Georgia. Welcome to the show. Dr. Andrew Lalage will be along later with our player medical report, and Adam Brown will have his fantasy football report also later in the show. But right now it's Jeffrey, Nikki, Chuck, and Bob, and we are talking college football, and there's so much to do in our first segment on college football. I want to start with what we call the silly season in college football, and that means coaches are getting fired, coaches are getting hired. There have been two hires this week that are significant. First of all, at the University of Florida, Jim McElwain has been hired as the new Gators head coach, and Mike Riley has been hired from Oklahoma State to be the new head coach at Nebraska. So my question, I think, for particularly for Chuck and for Nikki is, what do you think about the hire at the University of Florida? Is Jim McElwain a good choice?
Well, I think Jim McElwain's a great choice because the first thing he's responsible for is reconstructing and rebuilding this down spiraling Florida offense. And that's been the challenge for Will Muschamp this past 5 years. Think about this, Bob, guys. Since Tim Tebow left, the Florida offense hasn't finished higher than 10th in the Southeastern Conference in total offense. Unbelievable.
Well, when he was at Alabama, the last time that McElwain was at Alabama was 2011. His was the only team in the SEC that averaged more than 200 yards rushing and more than 200 passing. He's developed some really good quarterbacks in the past, a really good one this year at Colorado State. Nikki, what do you think about it?
I hear what you guys are saying, but if I'm a Florida fan, I'm a little confused right now. I would have thought we'd get a bigger, sexier name. It seems a little bit like a lateral move to me, but then again, as a Florida fan, you're already confused if you think that your football program's the same one it was a few years ago that would attract those big names.
I think that McElwain is going to be one of these guys to really put some real energy into that program, and they're going to score points at Florida. Mark my word. I want to ask you, Jeffrey, about the decision that was made at Nebraska to hire Mike Riley, who was 5-7 at Oregon State.
They replaced the coach who won over 70% of his games with the coach who's won 55% of his games. Yeah, I can't explain it.
Now let's take a look at the big games. This is the week that the committee is, of course, going to be able to decide and pick the final four for the first college football playoffs, and they will announce those selections at noontime on Sunday. But games of interest this week, Baylor plays at Kansas State, Iowa State, TCU, then the Big Ten, SEC, and ACC championships. I want to talk about that Big 12. They have no championship game. So we've got a good game between Kansas State and Baylor, and then Iowa State is the opponent, of course, for TCU. They should beat them by more than 30. What do you think is going to come out of that whole Big 12 as far as the Final Four is concerned?
Well, I think number one out of that Final Four is concerned. I think if it comes down to both of those teams winning, I think you take the winner of the head-to-head matchup. And to me, it's going to lean to Baylor if that's how it happens, it plays out.
All right, in the Big Ten championship game, Ohio State and Wisconsin play in Indianapolis. Ohio State, of course, down to their third-team quarterback, and this guy is not the same athlete as the others. He's 6'5", 250, more of a pocket passer. I'm not sure that Cardale Jones is going to be the answer, and Wisconsin's got a great defensive team, Nikki.
You're right, Bob, and Wisconsin's got a complete team right now, and one of the best running backs in Melvin Gordon. They've also got a strong enough defense to make life a little difficult for your young guy on the field as a sophomore quarterback.
Right. Okay, and now let's talk about our game of the week. And you know what that is? That's the SEC championship being played in Atlanta between Missouri and Alabama, brought to you by the Georgia Lottery. And remember now that Missouri has a great defensive front, 40 sacks on the year. Alabama's offensive line, though, has allowed only 11 sacks. That'll be a beauty. Let's get it started. Nikki, what do you think?
Missouri's hot right now. Bama's just better on both sides of the ball. I agree with you on their defense. They'll be a little bit intimidating to Bama, but who is going to stop Amari Cooper? Who's going to cover him?
That's the question they're asking, I think, at Missouri right now. Pass rush will be a concern for Alabama.
Great point. And you talked about Missouri's vicious pass rush. That's how you slow down Alabama. But the first thing is, I don't believe Alabama comes out and airs it out. I think they run the ball with T.J. Yeldon, sets up play-action pass with Amari Cooper. The most important name this weekend, Lane Kiffin, deciding if he's going to run or pass. But I believe Nick Saban's going to kind of force his hand and say, let's have balance. Balance will win the SEC championship.
And remember the names, the defensive ends at Missouri, Shane Ray and Marcus Golden. They have 13.5 and 8.5 sacks each. Now it's time for Jeffrey to pick who's going to win. So, Jeffrey, give us an idea. You like Alabama.
I have nothing but respect for Missouri. Very resilient. They're tough. He's a great coach. But Bama's too much. Give the 14 with Bama.
Wisconsin and Ohio State playing at Indianapolis.
Ohio State's defense is weak. They're going to be missing the quarterback. I like Wisconsin to run the ball down their throat. Give the 4.
Melvin Gordon. Kansas State at Baylor. I see that you like Kansas State here.
Look out for an upset. Snyder's a great coach. They're going to be ready to play. The Baylor quarterback was hurt. We'll see what happens. Take the points with Kansas State.
All right, we'll be back in a moment as we have our hometown team report. Stay with us on our special edition of Play to Win.
The Big Finish is underway at Mall of Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Closeout prices on the 2014 Ram Crew Cab. Save $10,000 off. Sale priced at only $25,999. A super deal on the 2014 Dodge Charger. Take $9,000 off MSRP. And during Chrysler's Great American Drive event, get $6,000 off MSRP on a 2015 Chrysler 200. The Big Finish at Mall of Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or online at yourdodge.com.
Still single. Yay!
Oh man, this is gonna go straight in the trash.
Oh, I'm gonna look like a mountain of cotton candy.
I'm gonna accidentally leave this behind tonight.
Let's never do this again.
Give a better gift this year, like a chance to win up to $750,000 with the Jingle Bucks family of scratchers from the Georgia Lottery.
Right after I got hurt in my car wreck, the other guy's insurance company offered to fix my car. They only offered me $750 for my injury. And they wanted me to sign this.
Don't sign anything until you've talked to me. I'm Attorney John Foy, the Strong Arm. You may be giving up tens of thousands of dollars by signing the insurance company's release form. Call me.
And they offered me this check for $1,000.
Don't take that check. Let me get you the money you deserve. Call on the Strong Arm.
Call Attorney John Foy, the Strong Arm.
Every day, your business may be losing something valuable. Energy. While you're hard at work, it's vanishing, taking your money with it. But Georgia Power can help. Whether your business is big or small, we have rebates on high-efficiency lighting and other equipment that can cut your energy use, so you can keep more of your money where it belongs. Learn more at georgiapower.com/commercial savings.
Hometown Team Report is being brought to you by Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers, bringing a higher order of pizza to Atlanta for 40 years.
Welcome to Hometown Team Report, and I smell a Mellow Mushroom Pizza in the house, but that's for later. That's for later. Right now, I want to talk to Jeffrey about that great Georgia Tech-Georgia game last week at Sanford Stadium, particularly great if you're a Georgia Tech fan. And one of the unusual things about that, Jeffrey, is that, again, Georgia failed at the end of the game as they lose 30-24 in overtime. What are your thoughts on it?
When Vince Dooley was the Georgia coach, Georgia would stay close, pull it out in the fourth quarter. Now it's just the opposite. The other team stay close and pull it out in the fourth quarter.
Okay, so here's my question. What does Georgia do in the fourth quarter?
Well, they should give Rick a Gatorade bath at the end of the third quarter. Between the third and fourth quarter, put them on their shoulders, and take him to the locker room and leave him there for the fourth quarter.
Of course, he's still answering questions about the squib kick as Georgia Tech has bragging rights for a year. Speaking of Georgia Tech, they're playing in the ACC championship game, and our 68 Seconds with 680 The Fan features my favorite Sandra Golden. Now, Sandra is an FSU alum, but she starts by showing some love to Georgia Tech.
Congratulations to Coach Paul Johnson, winner of the ACC's Coach of the Year. You know, he's won that award 3 times already, but this team seems to be special. 10-2, headed to the ACC champions to face off with Florida State. Justin Thomas, the quarterback, will he be the big difference? It's been working all season long for the Ramblin' Wreck. Did you know that Jimbo Fisher from Florida State heavily recruited this young man out of Prattville, Alabama, and he was that close to going to Tallahassee, and that's when Paul Johnson got a hold of him and said, you know what? You can run this offense. Paul Johnson loves this young man. Will he be the difference for the Jackets, or will it be Jameis Winston this year stepping up? We haven't seen Jameis Winston from 2013 at all this year. In fact, he had the worst game of his career this past Saturday against the Gators. You wonder if maybe that hearing was looming over Jameis's head. 2 days this week, Jameis spent in front of a judge having to defend himself against the alleged sexual assault that happened back in December of 2012. Florida State favored by 4, but most predicting Georgia Tech could pull the upset. I'm running out of time, Bob. I have no time to bang on the college football committee for putting Florida State 4th. What are they thinking?
I don't know what they're thinking. First of all, Florida State won the championship. They have a Heisman Trophy winner. They haven't been beaten. They should be better than 4th. I think the committee's all wrong on that one, too. I'm with you on that, Sandra Golden. All right, let's talk about that ACC title game. Tech, FSU. Nikki.
And I'm with Sandra that there could be an upset. You know why? Because Georgia Tech, they're methodical and they're heavy on the run. While they don't go for many big plays, they get in lots of plays. It's tough to get them to fall behind schedule. They're like a rat on a Cheeto. They just go
rat on a Cheeto.
Well, they better rush Jameis Winston or they're going to be rats on the Cheeto.
Exactly. And here's the deal on that game, too, as far as I see it. I think that Florida State can't turn the ball over. You turn the ball over early in a game to Georgia Tech, they run the clock on you. It's tough to come from behind, so better not play the same way if Florida State is going to win the game. Now, hometown team report continues. The Atlanta Falcons are a 13-point underdog at Green Bay. They go into the jaws of the dragon.
Well, and the Dragon is who they are, because right now Green Bay is the best team in football. They got the best player in football, Aaron Rodgers. Pass rush shows up. If the Falcons don't rush Aaron Rodgers, that number will be even higher than 13 for the Falcons at Lambeau Field. The Falcons have to be able to run the ball, and they have to put pressure on Aaron Rodgers if they even think about even getting a win at Lambeau.
Time to pick them. Let's go, Jeffrey. What do you think with the hometown team report predictions?
Florida State deserves more respect than they're getting. They're the defending champs. They're undefeated. Now they're playing a good Georgia Tech team who's going to run the ball and hit it, Maestro. They're going to run it right down Florida State's throat. Take Tech, and they're going to be the ACC champion.
All right, how about Atlanta Green Bay? 13 points.
Atlanta's playing nice. They're playing good ball, but just the worst place to be, December at Lambeau Field. Give 13 with Green Bay.
Okay, you guys have done so well in the hometown team segment. It's time for the Mellow Mushroom Pizzas. Chase is here. Bring them on up here. Slide them in here.
Chase.
While we're on a commercial break, we're going to be digging into Mellow Mushroom. Oh, have a look at that one. Oh, man.
I touched it. I get it all.
Too bad we don't have Aroma TV. Technology is still not up to the times. We'll be back in a moment with more on Play to Win.
Why can't I have a slice of yours?
You're a cartoon. You can only have cartoon pizza.
It's not fair.
Look, this pie is 100% real, and you're colored ink. It's physics, man.
Well, can you buy me a beer?
I can buy you a cartoon beer. Are you single?
It's right.
Everyone wants real Mellow Mushroom Pizza because our pies use premium meats and cheeses, fresh veggies, and spring water dough baked with wheat goodness. Mellow Mushroom, a higher order of pizza.
There's nothing like waking up on that first cold day of winter weather and turning on your heating system only to find out it doesn't work. I'm Tommy Estes. Call Estes Services ahead of time and avoid the discomfort. With our pre-season maintenance and safety inspection, your system can be running at peak efficiency. Call us today or visit estesair.com and find out everything this inspection offers. Save energy and money with dual fuel. Call your man for all seasons at Estes.
We'll fix it at the speed of light.
Today's Player Medical Report is being brought to you by Piedmont Healthcare, now a certified member of the MD Anderson Cancer Network.
Welcome back to our special edition and time for Play to Win. It's time now for our player medical report with Dr. Andrew Lalage, who is the Chief Medical Officer of the Radiology Group and also the creator of InsideInjuries.com. The most common injury, and you've all heard about this, in the NFL is concussions. And Dr. A, what have you to say about concussions?
Concussions are a big part of football, and a player cannot return to the field until all of his symptoms have resolved. And a lot of people talk about concussions but don't really know exactly what they are. It's an actual rotation of the brain. Let's take a look. This is a side x-ray of the brain. The front is on this side, the back is on this side, and this is the skull. This is an MRI of the brain, and you can actually look inside the brain. This thin section here is the midbrain, and the overall other area is the cortex. The front is here, the back is there. What happens is an impact injury to the head, there's actually a slight rotation of the midbrain, and that causes the concussion, and the player loses things like when they were born, what city were they born in, who are their family members. The next image actually shows fluid in the brain, which is this white stuff, which you can also get in a concussion. You know, Bob, one of the most detrimental effects of a concussion is players being tentative after they come back. And you know, when you play tentative in the NFL, you cannot be successful.
All right, Dr. A. And by the way, all the player report cards for Dr. A can be found on playingtowin.tv or InsideInjuries.com. We're going to come back in just a moment and continue with our special edition of Playing to Win with NFL Injuries and Fantasy Football Report with Adam Brown. Stay with us.
Our 10th anniversary celebration continues with a construction reduction sale now at Kia Mall of Georgia. For a limited time, get 0% interest or choose the best prices in the Southeast on these great models. Get a 2015 Kia Optima for just $17,997 or a new 2015 Kia Sorento LX starting at only $19,997. All inventory drastically reduced, and lenders are standing by with a 100% loan approval goal. Kia Mall of Georgia, 2.5 miles west of the Mall of Georgia, or online at lovemykia.com.
Today's injury report is brought to you by John Foy and Associates. If you've been injured in an accident, be sure to call John Foy, the strong arm.
Some big news this week in the NFL. Jadeveon Clowney, oft injured, has now had surgery on his knee. He has been placed on IR. Here are the other NFL injuries as we go into this weekend's play. Andre Ellington, you see, for Arizona has a hip. He's questionable. Roddy White with an ankle listed as questionable. Roddy says he's going to play, as does Justin Forsett with a knee questionable, but he'll be playing. The others are T.Y. Hilton, Mark Ingram, and Marshawn Lynch. And that is the NFL injury report brought to you by John Foy and Associates. And that means it's time for Fantasy Football, brought to you by SD Services with Adam Brown. Adam, good to see you.
Good to see you, Bob. How you doing?
Fantasy Football playoffs getting started this week?
Absolutely. Exciting stuff.
All right, let's get right to it. Who's hot and who's cold in fantasy football?
Well, Drew Brees is a hot quarterback. He had 5 touchdown passes last week, and he's facing a Carolina defense that has allowed 9 most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks.
All right, running backs.
Well, we have 4 up there, but let's take a look at Justin Forsett, who you just mentioned in the injury report. He's going to play this week. Forsett has 3 straight 100-yard games. Miami's defense has given up 373 yards the past 2 weeks.
And as we go to wide receivers, I see the Falcons are going to have to handle Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson, and Devontae Adams. Look, the Falcons are giving up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing receivers, and with Rodgers throwing the ball, good things happen.
You know, I'm looking here at who's cold, and you've got on who's cold a couple of quarterbacks.
If Drew Stanton and Mark Sanchez are starting this week for you, you're obviously not in the fantasy football playoffs.
How about sleepers?
Colin Kaepernick's had an absolutely awful season, but he's facing an Oakland defense that makes everybody look good. Start Colin Kaepernick this week, guaranteed to have some good plays.
All right, playoffs. We'll be back to talk more about them next week. This is Adam Brown.
Good luck, everyone.
With Fantasy Football, back in a moment with the NFL. Stay with us on Special Edition, Play to Win.
Your life moves fast, so when your plumbing goes bad, we know you want it fixed fast. I'm Brian Estes, inviting you to see what we can provide with our plumbing services. We're dedicated to the same high standards of quality we've held ourselves to since 1949. From leak repairs to water pressure, from water heaters to toilet issues. Estes is dependable, proven, and ready to help. Call Estes and we'll fix it at the speed of life.
We're Estes Services. We'll fix it at the speed of life.
Right after I got hurt in my car wreck, the other guy's insurance company offered to fix my car. But they only offered me $750 for my injuries. And then they wanted me to sign this.
Don't sign anything until you've talked to me. I'm attorney John Foy, the Strong Arm. You may be giving up tens of thousands of dollars by signing the insurance company's release form. Call me.
Their insurance company offered to fix my car and offer me this check for $1,000.
Don't take that check. Let me get you the money you deserve. Call in the Strong Arm.
Call attorney John Foy, the Strong Arm.
The NFL Report is brought to you by the Greater Atlanta Nissan dealers. Innovation that excites.
Welcome back to our special edition and special time for Play to Win. The rest of the NFL season is going to be all about positioning for the playoffs. So we're going to talk about that today. We start with the NFC playoffs. If they started today, Arizona and Green Bay would get byes, even though Arizona's been in trouble lately with the loss of Carson Palmer at quarterback, Detroit at Philly, and Seattle at Atlanta. So as we go to that, Chuck, what's your overall view on the NFC playoffs as they stand today?
I don't like Arizona because their quarterback shows that he's not a top-notch quarterback. Talking about Drew Stanton, this Arizona team could be one of the teams that, gets knocked out because of a team in the NFC South with a losing record.
Because of the woeful NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons are in first place now. Do they have a chance in the playoffs if they were to make the playoffs?
If our schedule didn't look anything like it really does look for the rest of the season, it's pretty nasty from here on out. So I would have to say no. I know Green Bay, the New Orleans Saints, the opposition for New Orleans, 32% winning percentage of the teams they're playing. They've got an easier road to go. All right, let's talk about the AFC. If it started today in the playoffs, New England and Denver would get byes. Kansas City, Cincinnati, San Diego, Indianapolis. Nikki, let's go right back to you. What do you think about the AFC? The Chargers, don't count them out. Yeah. I think that they could be some real contenders here.
Seem to be coming on strong lately. Had a little slump. I know Jeffrey's been liking them all year long. What do you think about the AFC playoff race as it stands today?
Fear Andrew Luck in the Indianapolis Colts. He's throwing the ball as well as anyone, and they're playing defense. Chuck Pagano, to me, another favorite for Coach of the Year for what he's done there.
All right, I think New England is still the top dog in the AFC. Would you guys agree with that?
I agree.
Yeah,
it's not a deadlock yet.
No, okay.
It should be, but it isn't.
Hold off. All right, New England, Green Bay. I keep hearing New England, Green Bay, New England, Green Bay. Now it's time, however, for our predictions in the National Football League. And, of course, we go to Jeffrey the Ed Schechter, who's picking above 60% on the season against the spread. You like Seattle in this one?
I think Seattle's defense is starting to play Seattle defense. They're going to give Sanchez a hard time. Take the point with Seattle.
New England at San Diego. You were on that bandwagon earlier. San Diego slumped. Now they're coming back a little bit.
I'm back on their bandwagon. That was a great victory last week. They were losing for 59 minutes. Came back in the last minute to beat Baltimore. I think they're going to give New England a game, if not beat them.
There's one final thing I want to ask you about, Chuck, and I'm going to ask you about this first, and that is the Falcons going to Green Bay. As Nikki pointed out earlier, the Falcons' schedule is tough. Green Bay's a 13-point favorite over the Falcons. If the Falcons were to upset Green Bay, how would they do it?
Well, they'd have to do it by running the ball and getting the ball out of Matt Ryan's hands fast. They have to use short passes when they go into Green Bay because, look, Julius Peppers and Clay Matthews Jr. are rushing the passer as well as anyone. The Falcons would have to stop the run, get the ball out of Matt Ryan's hands. That's the only recipe I see for them winning.
All right, I think Green Bay is the best team in the NFL right now. They'll probably prove that on Sunday as they beat the Falcons. Tough to win up there in Wisconsin. We'll be back in just a moment with more of Jeffrey the Ed Schechter in our lightning round. Stay with us.
Hey, look at this. I'm totally taking this back. This is hideous.
I put absolutely no thought into it.
It's so obvious.
Oh, you must think I'm still fat. I do. I'm gonna smash this little guy with a bat. I'll help you.
Give a better gift this year, like a chance to win up to $750,000 with the Jingle Bucks family of scratchers from the Georgia Lottery.
The Wizard, can you make me real so I can eat real mellow mushroom pizza instead of cartoon pizza?
Stand back. Here we go. Alakazam! Wiggity stickity poof!
I'm still a cartoon.
Then that'd be a no.
Everyone wants real mellow mushroom pizza because our pies use premium meats and cheeses, fresh veggies, and spring water dough baked with wheat goodness.
Wiggity stickity poof.
Mellow Mushroom, a higher order of pizza.
Every day, your business may be losing something valuable. Energy. While you're hard at work, it's vanishing, taking your money with it. But Georgia Power can help. Whether your business is big or small, we have rebates on high-efficiency lighting and other equipment that can cut your energy use, so you can keep more of your money where it belongs. Learn more at georgiapower.com/commercial savings.
Today's Lightning Round is brought to you by Georgia Power Company. Get energy efficient and get rebates from Georgia Power. Go to georgiapower.com.
All right, time for the lightning round with Jeffrey the Ed Schechter. And Jeffrey, I see that you only have one college game up on your board.
Marshall's been struggling lately, lost to Western Kentucky last week. There's going to be a lot of points this game. The number's been going down. I like Louisiana Tech.
Now, I don't understand these two teams, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
It's the Enigma Bowl. You don't know who's going to show up each week. Take Pittsburgh in the points.
All right, Tampa Bay at Detroit. Detroit, -10.
If you have Matthew Stafford in fantasy football, you're going to have a great week. Detroit will clobber Tampa. Give the 10.
All right, St. Louis, so you like the Rams over Washington.
Rams are coming around. Their defense is excellent. Washington's in disarray. Give the 2.5. This should be easy.
This is going to be a great game to watch. Kansas City, Arizona. It's a pick 'em. And you like Arizona despite Drew Stanton and all that?
Both teams have been struggling lately. Kansas City's looked terrible the last 2 weeks. I think Arizona's going to beat them in the desert.
Dr. Lalage, who is your sleeper pick? Usually it's somebody who's hurt.
Yes, but in this particular case, it's Drew Brees. He's had a medical grade of A all year, very little injuries. The Saints are losing, but it's not because of Drew Brees. I would still start him every single week.
All right, and Drew Brees and the Saints have an easy schedule. That's what the Falcons are concerned about in the NFC South. Now, the ACC Championship game, Georgia Tech, Florida State in Charlotte. I'm going to go right down the list. Who do you pick in the game?
I despise Florida State. I'm going with Georgia Tech.
You and half the rest of the country, apparently. Jeffrey.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm a rambling wreck from Georgia Tech. I think you were trying to say that. All right, Nikki.
Tech just beat my dogs, but I'm going with them.
You're going with Tech?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tech. I didn't pick them last week.
All right, Chuck.
I'm in this.
And I'm proud to say that the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets will get beat.
Oh.
They are not going to hold up against Jameis Winston and this Florida high-powered offense.
All right, and my view on that whole thing is that if Florida State turns the ball over, they'll lose. They keep control of the ball, don't throw the interceptions. Florida State beats Georgia Tech. Well, that's it for our special edition of Play to Win. Remember, that's what you should do every week. Play to win.
Today's show has been brought to you by Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers and the Greater Atlanta Nissan Dealers.